Conscious Healthy Aging, Well-Being Circle Experience. Live monthly sessions to go deeper with our reason for being, alignment with our reason for being, conscious care for our physical body, and playing our integrated part. He said ultimately it's to come to that point and to stop the getting old mentality and embrace aging with confidence and vitality together. So recognizing when we're defaulting then to old age thinking. And the past couple of sessions that we focused on our conscious mental capacity. And then our last session we had for our public conscious healthy aging well-being circle, we focused on conscious care for our brain. Okay. Tonight, we're going to focus on contributing in every age and stage of our life. And that comes from a quote from some of us may know of Alan Hammond, of playing our part in every age and stage. So to contribute in every age and stage of your life, of our life. The following content has been adapted from the book, How to Know a Person by David Brooks. Now, I don't know if some of you don't know David Brooks, but we watch him every Friday evening on PBS TV, and he gives a commentary on what's going on in the world. He's written a few books that I've appreciated, one being The Second Mountain, which talks about how we come to a point in life where we realize there's something more we need to provide. But his new book is called How to Know a Person. And it's the art of seeing others deeply and being deeply seen, to let them feel valued, heard, and understood. How can we look someone in the eye and see something large in them, and in turn see something larger in ourselves? So in recognizing a life stage for others and ourselves, it opens up how to contribute in every age and stage of our life. Let me continue along those lines. Stages in life reframed as life tasks. So in David's book, he mentions life tasks as reframing stages. So as in purpose, the action for which a person or thing is specifically fitted or used, or for which a thing exists. As in to entrust, to give a task, duty, or responsibility to. So this goes along with looking at stages in life reframed as life tasks. Life tasks relate to how we are challenged to grow and evolve in life, moving from one level of maturity to another. Are we compelled to move from one level to another because our consciousness opens? Or do we get stuck in a particular life task? So I'm going to be describing a little bit more about what those life tasks are. Patterns of change and growth evolve naturally throughout our lives if we allow it. We must play an active part in finding and embracing our life tasks as we age. Again, we're going to let this be further illustrated, but for now, we're just setting a context. Our perspective adapts to effectively perform the task or it does not. Relative life task templates outlined as follows. So we're going to get into the templates that relate to life tasks. And these templates are variable. There's not a perfect way to fit into them, but there's ways we can see how we've related to each of these tasks and how we may have actually got stuck in certain parts of the task. So the first task is what's called the imperial task. And it usually relates to an adolescent sense of consciousness, where we're looking to establish a sense of our own agency. We prove to ourselves that we can take control, we can work hard, and we can be good at doing the things we have chosen, the things that we've found an interest in. A competitive attitude is natural, either within ourselves or with others, in order to win praise, achieve glory, and reach for self-centered goals. So you can say during this time, there's a certain self-centeredness, but it's also a way of actually, say, rising up, developing a sense of, say, confidence within ourselves. So in this period, individuals will develop a sense of self-confidence or if they can't, they will experience feelings of inferiority. Okay, so I highlighted that because it blends in of what I have in mind future wise to see, okay, do we get stuck in certain places there? And if we have, how to actually begin to see them with understanding so we can actually clear those things out, clear the field within ourselves, and even assist others to clear their field. Individuals in this period may be filled with fight, angst, obsession, digestive challenges, anxiety. So again, there's something positive during this time, but also there's certain challenges too to meet. The next task, the impersonal task, adolescence to young adulthood. This stage is dominated by an intense desire to fit in, to establish one's social identity. Friendships and social status becomes the central obsession. Relevant feelings are learned, either helping to achieve emotional connection with others or leading to isolation. So this is a key here because you can see how there's such a tendency now. Is looking at the news the other day, and they were saying how men later in their lives feel isolated, and it's led to a high rate of suicide within the older male population. But to sense, of actually seeing what it takes to achieve that emotional connection, and if we haven't achieved that yet, there's still time to do so. Success at this stage prepares a person for greater empathy and the ability to experience another person's reality, walking in their own shoes, having a sense of what another person is experiencing. A concurrent realization is that one cannot be embedded within and controlled by these relationships. So there comes a point when there's such intense desire to socialize together, find interpersonal connection, but then to come to a point where you realize you can't rely on that solely. So as each life task each life task dawns, it requires a different level of consciousness. Again, I'm going through these tasks and there's 5 of them. So I'm going to put them all together once I complete this. Okay, the next task is career consolidation life task. This relates to the career pursuit to which we will devote our lives. Whether a specific job, parenting, artistic quest, or something else, it will become a primary driver in our lives. Periods of experimentation and discovery can lead to passionate consolidation in one's life, where we find our love for a career, or to aimless drift. You can say there's maybe certain points in your life where there was an aimless drift, or you can see folks in the world basically haven't found that career consolidation task yet, or stage, or experience, or to something in between, where we may have not actually found something we locked in, but we actually just took care of what we had to take care of in our experience of life, and that became our consolidation. One may become driven toward mastery, pleasure of becoming quite skilled at doing something. Possible life imbalance may result by getting sealed up with work. So that can mean that we might get so enamored with our work that becomes our tunnel vision of our lives, and there's nothing else beyond our work that we can see as integrating in our life, and it can become a life imbalance. So they call that getting sealed up with work. Even the most passionate pursuit may diminish and no longer satisfy. Something more may beckon from beyond one's career. The generative task. This is the task of growing into self-awareness and emotional control. It is the way of preparing to be of greater service to the world, or one succumbs to personal stagnation. So you can say if we're sealed up with our work and maybe that begins to wane, that enthusiasm, and then we have a sense there's something more, but we don't heed that call. And if we don't heed that call, then there's a sense of stagnation. And we might have the experience like we've hit a wall. A generative person focuses on developing the capacity to foster and guide the next generations, sees oneself as being entrusted with something vitally essential for humanity. A generative person sees others as the precious beings that they are and often assumes the role of guardian to help others know and experience life. They give the gift of patience and presence in service to others. However, possible overcare, burnout tendencies can be derailing during this time. So we're looking to be of service and we've primed our lives accordingly and we're taking those steps. Now we have to be careful of something called overcare, where we're overextending ourselves. You know, there could be burnout tendencies in that respect. But there's something more. And that relates to integrity versus despair, apex final life tasks. Let me explain that further. Integrity is the ability to come to terms with your life as you live, and in the face of death. True accomplishment brings an acceptance of life and a peace of mind. It is the satisfaction expressed in the phrase, I use and have used my time well. It is accompanied by a strong desire to learn more about life. By an awareness of finality, where death tends to make life's trivialities seem trivial. So, you know, you may have known folks who were maybe near death and they had basically, there was no more need to be razzed or entangled with the trivialities of the world. Those things are really put in perspective, but why do we need to be near death to come to that point? And that relates to actually the apex final life task while we're still living, including regardless of the awareness of death, one comes to a deep appreciation for life itself, which results in experiencing consistent flow presence. So that's the ultimate, an awakened conscious state. And we're talking about conscious healthy aging, our theme for our circle here. But what does it take to be awakened conscious state? And that topic alone can be pined and explored more, and we'll look to explore that more as we move along. But to compare integrity versus despair, despair is propagated by the regret that one has not lived their life as they believe they should have. It is marked by bitterness and obsession over past mistakes, filled with feelings of not having been of value to the world. One can evade their disappointment by externalizing their regrets onto others or the world in general. So again, it puts things in perspective. You know, if we just need to be moving and awakened state, we have to realize there's always more in that respect. And if we have the sense of regret about something in the past, we look to see how we can understand that for ourselves and maybe for another person to allow that, again, that field to clear. So opens up the door for a greater awakened state, conscious state. And I like to look at it in terms of, well, in another point here with the despaired state, there's a tendency for cancer development when there's a sense of, say, bitterness or regret. But ultimately, again, it's finding that flow state where we're having that experience of being in an awakened, conscious, present state. And we're recognizing, okay, what matters is what matters. And I'm just going to experience life in the moment and keep moving accordingly. And we look to experience it again in an integrated way with others who are sounding a similar note. And when that happens, then there's a magnification of our awakened conscious state. So life task summary: integrity, the generative task, career consolidation, the interpersonal task, and the imperial task. So life tasks, relative time periods. Again, these are relative. You know, we can reach a point of integrity, I can say at some point in our life, maybe not towards the end, but we can look at certain ages in terms of these timelines. So the imperial task, adolescence to young adulthood. 14 to 28. And in one of my future classes, I can spell out a little bit more about where I came with these numbers. But for now, you just kind of go with me in this respect. Yeah, I think you might be able to actually cotton on with why I've noted these numbers, these ages. Interpersonal tasks, adolescence to young adulthood, 14 to 28. Career consolidation to mid-age, adulthood to mid-age, 28 to 56. And then third quarter, the third quarter of lifespan. Some of us may have heard that term from our friend John Gray, third quarter, relating to the time frame of 56 to 84. And the integrity stage, fourth quarter of life, 84 to 112. Again, but we can look to find that integrity stage within that third quarter. But relatively speaking, those time frames are what I've discerned as something as a general framework. Okay. So greater understanding, value of awareness of life task. Recognize the task experience those in your world are having and being able to integrate accordingly. Okay, so you recognize where a person's at, whether they're in that career consolidation phase or if they're that interpersonal stage. And you can say if a person's talking with you about having a problem with someone else, you can say maybe at some point in that interpersonal stage, there was something lacking. There was something that maybe was inverted, the polarity was inverted, and that caused a certain stuckness within that stage. But understanding that, and maybe being large with that person, we can help serve them in terms of maybe freeing up that for that person or assisting them to help free it up for themselves. Paying attention to your life and the task which you are currently addressing is paramount to seeing and appreciating your success in life. So whatever stage we're at, actually see how far we actually have come. And that we're not finished with this process as long as we are still breathing. Acknowledging changes in life circumstance or tasks requires constant renovation of our own consciousness. Periods of transition can be rough. They will involve leaving behind old concepts and beliefs of being in the world. There may be a time of floundering. So as we're moving and say from that career consolidation stage of working all our lives and moving into a generative stage, we may be hitting a wall and there might be a time of floundering, but to understand that. And then transition times can often be preceded by health challenges. It's almost like subconsciously something might take over and cause us to not want to open our eyes that there is something more. And that might actually cause a health challenge to appear. But when we understand more about what's happening, say within ourselves or within another, you can say we can be of greater service to another, but also a greater ability to move along ourselves individually. So I've given you a bit to digest right now, and let's just have a little bringing it all together meditation, and then we'll see what's next after that. So again, let's upright ourselves, maybe close our eyes, and I'll take you through a meditation of what we just shared. So let's just breathe in slow, breathe out slower. And consider life stages, life tasks. Maybe something that I mentioned may have rung some bells with you in terms of the interpersonal tasks that you were involved in adolescence, or maybe even now, or the imperial task of sensing your own agency and own self-confidence, career consolidation phase, task of acknowledging the work that you're doing now or the work that you did do and how maybe you've moved from that and maybe you had some challenges moving from it, and then opening up to the generative task of being of greater service to the world, of preparing yourself, maybe reading pertinent materials that you just wanted to so engage with that you can be in that generative state. And then being aware of how maybe you've been challenged with that and how you may have not taken your opportunities and causing a sense of stagnation within, but then seeing anew But here we are now, taking our opportunities to be here together, to acknowledge that there's more of an awakened state of integrity, an apex state, an apex state of realizing presence, of acknowledging a sense of wholeness, of letting go to that, of being still with it, and breathing, slowing down, being still. Just breathing in now, breathing in slow and out slower. And opening up your consciousness, our individual consciousness, of seeing more in this respect, acknowledging our strong points, acknowledging the challenges we may have had, recognizing the challenges we've had, and giving thanks to be conscious of them, and now to have greater understanding. There's something more of an awakened state to be experienced, individually and together. And here's our work as conscious, healthy, aging individuals looking to make a difference in the world. Breathing in and breathing out. Okay. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, and the next stage is just personally consider what's been most meaningful to you. And if you want to make some notes, or if you have it just even mentally making a note, and consider what's been meaningful to you. How does it relate to yourself, your family, friends, and the world? So just take a moment to explore that for yourself. Maybe some thoughts came across while we did our meditation. And if you want to make some notes, they could be helpful.